for hosting that. If I didn't get an opportunity for District 10 Supervisor.
Jessica Pascal.
Hi, everyone, district, but who's really interested in looking after our well-being, our safety, lower our parking fees. What do you guys say about that? Raise your hands if that's important.
Thank you.
Accountability for hosting this event years ago, and what we quickly discovered all became a more complete, vibrant, and connected. Now we'll get into.
While a resident there, I created a blog called Patrol Hill SF. While a resident there, I created a blog called Patrol Hill SF for 2.5 years, starting in 2004. I was the only father out of six parents, female attorney, and former mayor of San Francisco, Art Agnos, that saved Daniel Webster Elementary School from closure. I was a PTA president at Jose Ortega Elementary School, and through SF Education Fund, I have volunteered at George Washington Carver Elementary School from 2019 to 2020, as well as Bret Hart Elementary School. So education is a huge part of my platform. I have also written articles for the Patrol View. I have photos published April and May, and we have ranked choice voting in District 10. There are 3 leading candidates, of which I am not one of them. We have DJ, to my far left, leading candidate, JR, leading candidate, and Theo Ellington. So I'm gonna try to use my platform to talk about mental health, openly disclosing that I have bipolar 1, that I've been put involuntarily in psych wards. So trying to use mental health as my platform, and also writing about it as a journalist to keep everybody accountable. Also doing short form video, YouTube, and getting voices from the community, people that are not represented here, people that might speak a foreign language, Cantonese, Vietnamese. We have a large population of Samoans. So I'm gonna try to keep people accountable and try to get number 2 votes, because I'm trying to get Taylor Swift to perform in San Francisco.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from candidate Hersey P.J. Bastiani III.
Hello, everyone. My name is Piercy Fitzgerald Randy Bastiani III. You can call me PJ. I'm a proud San Jose native. I graduated from Archbishop Mitty High School, came up here, graduated from University of San Francisco, got my marketing major. I got the minor in public service and community engagement in its first year. I'm currently a graduate student, doubled on at the University of San Francisco Masters in Public Administration program. So anything that I'll be talking about, I've done the research on in school. I have paperwork on it, created legislation, drafted and everything. So I look forward to hearing more about some of the things that you find concerning and taking it back for school. What I'll be fighting for is maintaining T-train service as a shuttle service after they try to close it. I'll be fighting for shipyard reactivation and remediation for a public-private commercial maritime shipping, reestablishing jobs for this community for the longshoremen and operating engineers, Teamsters, getting union set up back over there, fighting for more opportunities for our youth to have activities, more education with tech as well. And lastly, wanted to make sure that y'all know, mi nombre es PJ, yo soy un hijo de una madre mexicana, una abuela de Estado Sonora, Mexico. And it's important for me that everybody knows that there's 30% Latinos that live in this district, and we are seen, heard, and I will be fighting for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much. To the audience, just a reminder, please make sure that your phones are on vibrate. Please make sure your phones are on vibrate so that we don't interrupt the candidates, especially when they're speaking, because all it takes is just one little thing and it can change a whole statement. Mr. Sean Richards.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sean Richard. I'm the executive director of Brothers Against Guns. I've been doing this for 31 years. I didn't help with the homeless, housing, public safety, work with young men that was in trouble with the juvenile hall system. I know this community very well. Back in 1945, my grandmother moved out here. She lived at 110 Kiska Road. Then she moved over to Fillmore. 20 years later, Sean's back over in Bayview. My auntie grew up, my Uncle Will and my Aretha lived on Mechanic. My other auntie, Cooks, they lived on Newcomb. So I know this community very well. I lost a lot of young men in this community to violence and I saved a lot of young men. I partnered up with a business friend of mine, and we created a program called Redirection, where we put young men into city jobs that, to this day, 37 of them are still working with retirement. They've been on their jobs for 15 years. I'm proud to say that. I'm born and raised in San Francisco. My kids went to school in District 10. I went to school at Balboa High School. I met all my friends from over at Balboa, and they all lived in Bayview Hunters Point. So it's no coincidence that I'm here today, that I've been working in this community for 31 years. I lost 2 brothers to gun violence, and I'm here to save lives. Work with young men to transforming them, work with young women to transform them to have a better life, a successful life, and a better District 10 community. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. And our last candidate, Theo Ellington.
Good evening, everyone. There we go. Let me just first say thank you to Dr. Adams. It's very fitting to have this spirited discussion here at a black church, an institution. Providence, you have set the blueprint for what it will take to bring this neighborhood back. 4 square blocks. This is property owned and operated by a black institution, and we should be proud of that as a community. My name is Theo Ellington. I am a San Francisco native, went to local schools here.
It's not the mic, it's your holding of the mic. Theo, it's not.
Is this better? Okay. Should I start over? Can you introduce me again? No. Good evening. There we go. My name is Theo Ellington. I'm a San Francisco native, born and raised in this very community. Doesn't get more local than me. Charles Drew Elementary, Gloria R. Davis Middle School, and School of the Arts High School. I got involved in politics at 13 when my cousin was shot and killed on Deadman Court. I knew then, just as I know now, that the conditions that we are living in this neighborhood are not normal compared to the rest of San Francisco. I'm running for supervisor because I want to make sure every family feels safe, can afford to live in this city, and thrive. I have dedicated my life to contributing and giving back for this community. So the issues that we will talk about tonight are not theoretical. They're not political talking points. I've lived them. When it comes to homelessness, I worked for the Salvation Army, bringing recovery housing back to the city and county of San Francisco. When someone is ready to change their lives, we should have services readily available for them. As commissioner for the Office of Community Investment and Infrastructure, I led the creation of over 1,000 units of affordable housing across the city and county of San Francisco. 250 of those were formerly homeless families. I was the first director of public affairs for the Golden State Warriors. 3,000 good-paying jobs right down the street in Mission Bay. Thousands, millions of dollars in philanthropy that we invested right here in this community. And so when we talk about what needs to happen over the next 5 years, 10 years, preservation, growth. Preservation and growth. We have a long-standing black community here that has fought tooth and nail to remain. And so I want to make sure that my platform includes affordable housing. It includes improving our corridor. It includes making sure that people feel safe in this neighborhood. And lastly, I will say, the black church will be a part of San Francisco's recovery.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That's not 2 minutes.
It is. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you to each of you for the opening statements. Just a reminder on the mics are actually turned up very loud, so if you hold them very, very close to you, it will come across sounding a little muffled, which is what you guys were hearing. So you don't have to hold it as close. It's your comfortability, but that's what the sound is from that. The questions that we received encompass 6 different areas from the community. These questions, for those of you who've been to town halls in and around this community, as I have, they all are centered around housing, transportation, public safety, economic development, and education and our youth. The questions that were submitted will deal with each of those particular areas. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to a particular question that was submitted by a community member in each of those areas. The first area is in housing. Bayview Hunters Point has lost thousands of Black residents to displacement over the past 2 decades. If elected, what is the single most urgent action you will take in your first 90 days as supervisor to stop displacement and protect people who built the district, in addition to ensuring that it is open to all? With that question, we will start with DJ.
So thank you for that question, and it's a very complex question that you ask when we talk about housing. But what I can share is as we look at housing in the stock that we have here, it's about making sure that we take the opportunity to look at the stock that we currently have and making sure that we're keeping folks here and in their homes. We also have to look at within the first 90 days, as you bring it up, is actually take stock and look at our certificate of preference holders that we have and actually look at how we can actually expand that program. When we look at the certificate of preference program that we currently have now, in terms of what it's doing and not doing and bringing folks back, it's very limited in its range. So being able to work with the Mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development, the Office of Community Investment and Infrastructure, which is a lot of work that I've already done. In my time, I have actually have over 900 units of affordable, low-income housing here in our district. It spans from the Shipyard into Potrero Hill as we look at 249 Pennsylvania. We have real projects that are currently in the pipeline that are available and ready for folks to live in. But not only that, it's about the interconnectedness. So as we look at housing, we have to talk about the stability around jobs and making sure that folks have access to opportunities that allow them to stay here. So as we develop housing, it's not just about creating the low-income housing, it's making sure that we're looking at the wages that individuals in our community have access to and make sure that we're building and developing housing towards that to make sure that folks have an opportunity to live, stay, and thrive here in our community.
Thank you, DJ. Same question.
All right. So, one of the most important things we learn in nursing is this acronym called ADPI. Okay? So, I'm going to tell you the first thing that's most important is advocating. So, this is how we're going to advocate for better housing and get it in place. First, we're going to assess. We're going to assess our resources that are available, not just our funding, also our taxes. And we're going to look at some of our websites. We're going to redo them. Today, I looked at the Dahlia website, which is about affordable housing. There was only one place on the market, on 3rd Street. The highest we can go for that is $64,000, okay? Now, there's only one apartment available. So we have to expand this operation if that's what people truly want. We'll also point people to where they can access more. There's different waivers that they need to know about in their lease agreement, okay? One of these is about rent control. We'll also give more access to law and legal libraries, as well as some of the forms that people can access, and some of the lawyers or advocacy groups. The other thing that's important is identifying some of the problems, talking with you guys. Implementing evidence-based research is very important to us. Not only is figuring out where people want to live, but working with organizations such as his and more to get these people into place in affordable homes. And then lastly is evaluate. How did everything that we do for affordable housing work? How was our employment levels so where people can afford the housing? How did they work out? And our level of vacancies and people who are unhoused. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. JR? Same question.
Thank you. There's a lot, but I'm going to focus strictly on housing, as this is the housing component of the debate or the forum. And we have to look at both the existing housing stock, future housing stock, and how we keep that in good shape. On existing housing stock, we have a tremendous pipeline that's accessible at a range of affordabilities. It's along the waterfront as part of these large master projects. It's a promise that's been made that these things would be built. That promise has not yet been kept. I want to work to stand up a public bank, work to stand up financing districts in order to make sure that that housing gets built. It's going to be accessible to the community. It's going to be accessible to bring people back to the community. It has to be built. We can also look at other areas along the T where we can add housing that'll focus on being accessible to a range of incomes. We have a moat between our neighborhoods that goes from 23rd to Gerald along a rapid transit corridor. We can do better to provide housing opportunities right there. And then we have a high degree of home ownership in Bayview Hunters Point. We need to make sure that the city has funds to keep people in those homes. Home repairs are expensive. Systems get outdated, particularly in homes that are 100, 110 years old at this point. Those funds need to be there to help families to be able to stay in their homes and to be able to modernize them and bring them on to the future generations. It's something my grandmother benefited from. She lived in a small house in rural Oklahoma. I remember when her electricity got redone by a government program, it allowed her to stay and allowed us to be able to use that house in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mike?
So District 10 actually has the most housing that is being built. Mission Bay used to be a wasteland. I think we should really focus on things that can be immediate action plans. We have a situation where we have RVs in San Francisco. It is a complete failure by Supervisor Walton in that the navigation center closed. We have RVs populating our streets, RVs that were towed from around the Stone Sun area, trash is getting deposited. Let's figure out what we do with these people that are unhoused in the RVs. There are tiny homes that are sitting in the Bayview, which Shimon blocked from actually being put up. We're talking about 90 days. I have a background in startups. I was a second user interface designer at LinkedIn when it was a pre-revenue startup with 40 people. So let's move rapidly. None of this government BS, you're gonna have the unions that are gonna be pushing back and they wanna get, more wages, and that is stopping things from getting built, including Steph Curry was trying to build something within Dogpatch with the union stopped. I'm the only independent candidate here. I actually switched from independent to Republican to vote for Nikki Haley. I wrote in Taylor Swift for president because I did not like Kamala Harris or Trump. Mic drop.
Mr. Bastiani?
Testing.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So, thank you, everyone. May I have your attention? In my first 90 days, we're going to do.
Excuse me 1 second. Thank you very much. You may now begin.
Thank you. Following in New York City Mayor Mondani's footsteps in freezing the rent out here in District 10 for anybody that's in public housing, or if you're not in a luxury apartment and you can afford it yourself, if you feel like your rent needs to get freezed, we're going to freeze that. We're going to be able to buy out the Dahlia housing from Brookfield, John Stewart, Equity Residential, Greystar, and any other privately owned public housing, affordable housing that is in District 10, because these guys all use RealPage, which is an AI technology to artificially inflate your rents, so which is why we're losing the Black and Latino middle class. People don't even know that their rent's being raised up, artificial fees are being thrown in there, they're losing their housing. I'm pushing for modulated and containerized shelter units, both maritime-based, since we have the largest single waterfront in all of San Francisco, I'm calling that Talocon, as well as land-based modulated, above-ground, modulated containerized shelter systems, I'm calling that Wakanda. These are units that are deployable fast, truck in, truck out, and will be able to house hundreds to thousands of people because it is a scalable system. I'm pushing for black housing lawyers to come in and replace EDC, Radco, and Open Door Legal as the single supplier of housing advocacy for black residents. And just so you know, if you had housing issues, you need to go to Open Door Legal first, not EDC Radco, because if you go to EDC Radco first, they're gonna put you in a system and you'd only get limited support if you then go to Open Door Legal. And lastly, I am pushing to ban luxury housing developments in all of District 10. If you're not building 100% affordable housing that is ultimately owned by the city and county of San Francisco, we don't want it. Get it out of here, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr.
So,
Richards.
some of the things, I use my integrity as who I am. And I'm not gonna sell you a dream, I'm not gonna lie to you, but the first thing I'm gonna do in my first 90 days is get with all the housing coalitions and have them sit down with me and tell me what's the best way for us to move. And that's one, I wrote four points. Preventing displacement of longtime residents, because they've been pushed out. They've been, oh, we'll give you $1 million, we'll give you $500,000, and they gone. The other point, protecting tenants' rights, supporting responsible developments. Developers that's coming in here and not being responsible, we're gonna check them. You folks are voting for a District 10 supervisor. You folks have the right to tell us what you want, how you want it, to keep this community where it is, black, brown, red, green, all above, but at the same time, we have to work together. My third point, increasing home ownership. We have to increase home ownership. If we don't, because our young folks, my age growing up, they was given a house after their parents passed away, and they sold it, they moved to Antioch. We got to bring them back. We got to educate them. We got to teach them. We got to train them how to hold on to your property. Fourth thing, building housing that people can afford in our district. We have to make sure that when someone is trying to buy a house, we cut through the red tape, we work with them, we keep them in our district. But most importantly, I want to just say this, making sure that all you folks who vote and you elect the supervisor for District 10, that you make sure that they sit down and they give you the right perspectives on what they're gonna do in this district to keep residents here. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a second. Theo Ellington.
Thank you. Well, I've stated in my first 30 days in office, I am going to implement what I'm calling a community and economic development plan. The issue is that we have these lofty housing goals, but sometimes those goals don't match our transit goals or our employment goals. And so we've got to come up with a mechanism to make sure that all of those goals are aligned. They're doing this in the Fillmore right now, and they're also doing this in the Mission District, and it has proven thus far to be successful. The second thing we have to do is stabilize the housing on the Hill. Related, Alice Griffith, or an atrocity. Right now, if you are in an affordable housing unit in Related, you are going through a horrendous process right now where you are getting your rent increased, where you are getting your property stolen, where you are getting unfair treatment. And so we've got to address that and stabilize housing up on the Hill. Alice Griffith is another example where somehow the city can't seem to realize who has responsibility. When ceilings are falling from the roof, that's a problem for me. When people are literally dying, that is a problem for me. When residents are moving out and being evicted, that is a problem for me. And so there's a couple things that we can do. Certificate of preference program, yes, but I want to be specific on how we expand that. One, by implementing a zip code preference. Much like we do with the cannabis industry, if you have a history of living in San Francisco for 10 or more years, then you get a preference. If you go to school in this neighborhood, then you get a preference. If you were evicted in this neighborhood, then you get a preference. The last thing I will mention is homeownership. We have to make sure we provide homeownership opportunities for folks who live in this district. That means down payment assistance programs that have already proven to work and be successful, and that also means family planning. to make sure we are able to pass homes down from generation to generation to continue to build wealth in this very community.
Thank you. Just a reminder to all of our candidates, I'm giving you a second to gather your thoughts, and that's why I'm calling your names, so then that way you all have an opportunity to be able to gather your thoughts, and then that allows the applause to die down so people can hear you from the beginning, and it keeps our timekeeper honest as well, so she can make sure she gives you your full allotment of time. All right, next question. This is around transportation. Question that came in from members of our community, and the question says, Muni service in D10 is amongst the worst in the city. Routes are cut, buses are late, and stops are unsafe. What concrete commitments will you make to D10 riders to make this better? And how will you hold SFMTA accountable for delivering them? And this time we will start with J.R. Epler.
Thank you for the question, and it's one that I feel. I'm a frequent rider of transit throughout the district, and I know that it is slow and it is unreliable, and if you've got to be at a job on time, it's not the way you're going to use to get there, and that's unfair. We have ways of improving transit. We just have to hold the city accountable in order to get it, and it means being persistent, and it means being a thorn in the side of the MTA and not giving up. I call it the 11-year-old rule. I just have 10, 11-year-olds in my house. The way they get things is by continuing to push you, and I've been successful in that in the northern part of the district. When they tried to take away a bus route over the hill when they moved the 22, I made sure that they created a new route, and that route actually served the people, not the SFMTA's bottom line. We can increase speed on the T. We have the technology sitting at the SFMTA. They just haven't deployed it throughout the line. We need to deploy it from Sunnydale to Chinatown so the entirety of the T is faster. They have the technology to do the same thing on the 9 San Bruno and the 9R in order to make sure we can get north and south faster. When we pass this Muni ballot initiative, we need to go back and say, okay, let's start adding back those routes that you cut. I worked on the task force that brought back the 15. We need to bring back the 10, and we need to look at additional rapid routes out of District 10. And it's not just the MTA. The government has studied to death the idea of a Bayview Caltrain station. They keep on coming back to the Oakdale area for it. After we pass that regional transit measure, it's time to go to the Caltrans board and say, all right, now is the time to make good on that promise so that we have an additional, faster way to get there. In the meantime, let's take advantage of the things that are going on right now. When that Islayas Creek Bridge has to close, let's use that as an opportunity to remediate the conditions on our Muni platforms south of Islayas Creek so that when people use them, they feel safe, they're clean, and they're welcoming. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mike Lynn.
Oh my God, did you know that SFMTA actually gets booted up with 3 floppy disks? That's how antiquated the system is. We can implement things like AI to get traffic lights going faster. I, being a person with disability, actually have a reduced Clipper card where I get 50% off. People are basically getting on the bus without paying. Let's just, kind of make it easier, Clipper card. Let's get verification so people feel safe. I've seen people with fentanyl on the bus. I would like to thank the SFMTA with our partnership with the Bayview Shuttle. There are 7 shuttles. It's pretty amazing. It's a benefit of Bayview where it's basically rideshare like Uber, where you can get to the 24th Mission, 22nd Caltrain Station, Bayshore, SF General Hospital. Let's maybe try to do a partnership with Waymo, where either Waymo or Zoox, where people within this district, I would say southeast, I would say Bayview, Sunnydale, Visitation Valley, where people are in the lower income brackets, where they get credits to ride these vehicles, which will become incredibly important, as J.R. Epler had mentioned, with the Islay Creek Bridge being renovated and the T train is going to stop. I basically use, public transport, which you have more and more people coming into the city because of the jobs. We need to get people on public transportation. I also have issues with RVs blocking me getting to the freeways. So let's deal with that. But let's leverage technology.
Thank you. Mr. Bastiani?
Testing. Thank you very much. I look forward to promoting SFMTA accountability through promoting their meetings to the community, social media, and the different local newspapers, all the local television channels, promoting hybrid accessibility within the SFMTA meetings to make sure more of the community are actually able to get their voices heard and concerns heard in public comment. I'm going to fight to increase for funding for more electrified and hydrogen-powered buses that'll make sure it'll be lower emission but still increased bus service, more Bayview shuttle funding. I want to put out a request for proposals for private logistics companies to come into District 10 and set up and open up their services, have a little bit more affordable options for people that want to get from point A to point B. I support having a new Sunnydale rail yard for the T-train, which would go along with supporting shuttle service after the bridge is cut, so that way you can have at least 6 to 10 trains still running shuttle service. I support having a new rail line set up on the east side of the city that would connect India Basin Waterfront to the shipyard, to Alice Griffith, to Candlestick Point, to Double Rock, and then that would connect to the Caltrain at Bayshore. Want to have private security on bus, rail, and all transit stops, preferably black belts, martial artists, veterans, and community-trained volunteers like black belts in Gracie Survival Tactics. More big boy trash bins at every single bus stop, so that way all of the dilapidated trash cans can get thrown out, and we can have quality trash pickup at all of our bus stops. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Richards.
District 10, I wrote a few notes down. District 10 deserves a transportation that is reliable, safe for all District 10 residents. Not just over in the Sunset, not just over in the Fillmore, for Bayview District 10. I'm gonna fight and make sure that our trains, our buses are safe, where seniors can ride the trains, they can get on the transportation, and they can be safe and feel comfortable getting to their destination. Making sure that they're reliable, they're on time, they're following through. But I'm also gonna make sure I sit down with Muni to talk to them about what can we do to improve your services? What can we do to make it more affordable for the youth, the residents of District 10, seniors, and everyone that take transportation? At the end of the day, I know as a kid growing up in San Francisco, Muni was horrible. Why I say that? My father drove for Muni for 31 years. He was a Muni driver. He complained every single day about how the system was ran. With that being said, I remember his talks. I remember him telling me, son, we have to figure out how can we fit into the progress of making District 10 and District 11 and District 5. This is what he used to tell me. A more reliable transportation system for all of us to get there. Because as you know, young men are catching the trains, young men are catching these buses. There's shootings, there are fights, and we need to make sure we put security on the transportation to protect all people that's driving on these trains. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ellington.
Thank you. So my approach to my approach to transportation is fairly simple. Transportation should be a neighborhood connector and not divide us and cut us off from the rest of the city or region for that matter. And so there's some things I think we can do in the short term, and then I think there's things we can do in the long term. Number one for the T-train is to make sure we have signal prioritization. There should be no reason why, if I am driving in a car, I'm at a red light and I look to my left, and the T-train is waiting at the red light with me. Faster T-train service is a must. We also want to make sure that our current platforms are ADA accessible. Right now, if you are a senior on any one of our platforms, you have to walk at least 2 blocks to get to a ADA accessible ramp. So you've got to walk down, and then you've got to walk back up to wait for the actual bus. And so being able to make sure our T-train is accessible for everybody is important. And the last thing, safety. And that means different things for different neighborhoods. Down in Visitation Valley, lighting, making sure that we have traffic calming measures so when you're walking across on Bayshore, you feel safe and that you're not impeded by the flow of traffic. Here in Bayview, that means making sure our platforms are actually clean. I don't know if you've seen the platforms on Oakdale or further down. They do not receive the service that we deserve on this side of town. In terms of what I will do to hold MTA accountable, we will bring them to this very neighborhood and have public meetings here in District 10 so that they are not bringing a police force to ticket our community, but they are coming to make sure that we are giving the input we need so that MTA can be reliable and safe for all of the district.
Thank you. Mr. Brookter.
Thank you for that. As I listen to what folks are sharing, I think we also need to make sure that we're mentioning when we look at Muni, we're looking at the 15, and we're creating more express lines here in our district that get us to and fro, that get us from Sunnydale to Chinatown in a timely manner. Also, as we talk about the transit signal, and we're looking at the T-train, I think what we really need to do is actually have a very difficult conversation. To ensure that our T-train moves faster, we need to be able to sit down, bring SFMTA here and say, you know what? We want our T-train to have express hours. But we need to have a discussion and conversation around which stops we will not make. So it's about having those sorts of difficult conversations that I will hold SFMTA accountable in terms of bringing them here to our district. And we're also going to make sure that we keep things affordable. And one of the conversations has been around our shuttles and the 7 shuttles that we have here, but I heard that the shuttle service is not reliable. When I'm talking to residents in Double Rock and we're having conversations about the shuttle and its services, we need to make sure that our shuttle is taking folks to specific areas and places that they need to go to. As we talk about taking folks to our pharmacies, right? As we talk about taking folks to and from the grocery store, it needs to be very specific in terms of how we're leveraging and utilizing our shuttle service as we bring more here. And one of the consistent themes has really just been around reliability. And we literally just had a conversation about the platforms as we were here for the Bayview Block Party the other day, making sure that SFMTA invest in our ridership and invest in our neighborhood and make sure that we are connected to the rest of the city and county of San Francisco.
Thank you very much. Ms. Pesica.
All right. So I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm one of the only candidates who goes to the board meetings and the commission meetings. I also speak with SFMTA. If you don't believe me, Ace, do I go to the board meetings? Yes. Yeah. I've also presented at the board meetings how we are going to redo the bus lines. I not only gave them this, but I also talked about it on SFGov TV, as well as presented it to the SFMTA. Here's what the plan was. We're going to have one bus route that is going to take people to major events, their healthcare provider, and other important issues. We are going to conduct a needs assessment, see where people need to go and what bus lines are going to be on there. You can do that on gov.thisthegame.com or write to the SFMTA. So here's what I did. Here's what we are going to do. We're going to redo, and this is what I talked about with them, the 9, the 9R, the 14R, and the 14. These ones overlap. We're also going to work on the 22 and the 19, the 5, the 56, and the 15, because we know that a lot of people are having issues getting to where they need to go. Not only that, but I work with Refuse. What does that do? We make sure the area is clean. I have worked and made sure the bus platforms and the T-line have been clean. We will send in our agency to clean up the buses. Not only that, but we'll work with other healthcare providers to make sure that seniors and other people with disabilities get shuttles to where they need to go, especially for a medical appointment. We'll also see that We have more ADA accessibility in these places. Especially, we want to make sure our children or our youth are safe at night. We will see where there's important spots to go.
Thank you, Ms. Pascal. Give our candidates a hand as they share their ideas and their thoughts in terms of representation of you. Thank you, guys. This next question is around economic development. The question that was presented to us, 3rd Street and Bayview's commercial corridors still haven't recovered from the pandemic. What is your economic development plan to bring more investment into the corridor, retain small businesses, and create more living wage jobs that serve people who are already living here in D10, in addition to those who may come later? And for this question, we will begin with Mr. Bastiani. Before you begin, sir, if you can, please make sure everyone silence your cell phones. Please put them on mute for us so that they don't disturb a candidate's train of thought. Is that all right, y'all? All right, thank you. Mr. Bastiani.
Thank you, Pastor. So I was a USF business school major, so business is something that I live and breathe by. I have 2 businesses, MAFH Security, MAFH Manufacturing, Logistics, and Defense. I'm a registered bidder and supplier with City and County of San Francisco. I have my Cal eProcure account set up, working on the SAM code. So business is very important to me. And especially as an Afro-Latino, I understand that we need sovereignty in our economic development. We shouldn't be going every time to the city or these other agencies for money that we can be circulating in our own community. If you combine the economic power of the African-American, the Latino, Polynesian, the Asian community that's living right here in District 10, we have enough money to retain the businesses. I also want to see more of the Mission Street style street vendors coming over to the District 10, so you can go to one corner and get Mexican food, you can get tamales, you can get Salvadorian empanadas, or you can go across the street to your favorite auntie and get the cheese, grease, eggs, tomatoes, hams, clams, on you name it. So that's how you keep money in this community. It goes from one pocket to the other. I also want to see, this circles back to the transit, reestablishing ferry service or water taxi service and making sure that folks have another opportunity to get folks from Oakland to come over here and make it more accessible. Hey, wouldn't it be great if you could take a ferry from D10 over to Alameda Beach, over to Jack London, go see Lake Merritt, and be back over in District 10 in like less than a ride across the bridge? You know what I'm saying? And lastly, I want to see the promotion at the same level of the businesses in District 10 for any major events. The Super Bowl was here, the All-Star Game was here. Where was the support from the City and County of San Francisco and those Bay Area committees to support District 10 businesses? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bastiani. I think Shirley Caesar would be happy of your rendition of beans, greens, potatoes, and tomatoes. You name. All right. Mr. Richards. Yes, sir.
Well, being a small business owner, as everybody probably in here know, I own a couple businesses. And first of all, it was hard for me to get and cut through the red tape on trying to get funding, a loan, or whatever, so I made my own way. So that will make it a lot easier for small businesses. The other thing I'm gonna do, work on workforce development and training apprenticeships. I'm gonna do local hiring, sit down with all the businesses that I can and meet with them in the district to make sure that they are here to stay, but they also are here to hire locally. Create opportunities and connect with the waterfront infrastructure project to make sure that our people are part of that at the same time. Now, I took some notes down. Entrepreneurship is big for me. In my program, Brothers Against Guns, I started a program called Be Your Own Boss, teaching young folks how to work for themselves, how to start their own business from ground up. I know, I did that. Couple businesses, was very successful at that. And some of my businesses are still going. At the end of the day, we have to show local hiring and we have to show our small businesses that we support them. We sometimes talk about it, but then we don't actually be about it. And what I mean by that is this. I talked to someone the other day and it was telling me, Sean, there's no good restaurants in District 10 to go eat at. I told him, you're right. It's a few, but do you go support them? You got Gumbo Social? Oh, I go there. Okay. Well, what else? There's not any black-owned businesses. Let me be very clear about that. That we're supporting and we're putting to the side. We're not supporting them enough to where we can pour into them and build them up and make sure that they can thrive. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Richards.
I talked a little bit earlier about my first 30 days implementing the Community and Economic Development Plan. I want to emphasize the economic development piece because we have all of the city's growth getting ready to happen south of Cesar Chavez on this side of town. And so we have to make sure that people of this district get the same energy, investment, and resources as the rest of San Francisco. San Francisco's on the rise. Let's go San Francisco, right? All of the recovery programs that we see downtown, we want here in District 10. Vacant to vibrant, downtown development company. These are examples in the blueprint that we can provide for folks who live, work, and love this neighborhood. When we talk about our businesses along the 3rd Street corridor, I want to implement a small business improvement fund that allocates money to small businesses who want to move into existing storefronts. We've seen this program work. I can't tell you how many businesses are one electricity incident away from falling through the cracks, or one flood away from not being able to open their business. And so we have to change that. The second thing is making sure that our local and minority-owned businesses are connected to some of these major projects happening. 20,000 new units of waterfront development projects happening, over 2 million square feet of office, retail, lab space coming to our waterfront. I want to see locally owned businesses. I want to see black-owned businesses. I want to see people who live and work in this neighborhood getting the financial opportunities that they deserve. And then the last thing is we have the city and county of San Francisco spending billions, that's billions with a B, billions of dollars in this neighborhood, whether it's the Public Utilities Commission or Rec and Park on India Basin. Our people should be on those jobs. Our small businesses should be having those contracts. And so part of what we're going to do in that community and economic development plan is make sure we align our employment goals and our industry goals with our development.
Thank you. Mr. Brookter.
Thank you for that. So as we take a look at things that have transpired and happened during the pandemic, one of the conversations we are not having is around a public bank, allowing us to invest in us. When we're thinking about small loans that can help our small businesses along the corridor continue to thrive, that's something that we need to look into. We've talked about making sure that we also strengthen our hyper-local local business enterprises as well, too, to make sure that they have access to all of the things that are here in the district and coming down the pipeline. But it starts with creating marketing plans and actually having assessments of our small businesses so that we can actually meet our small businesses where they're at. To have conversations around, do you just need help with marketing on social media? As we talk about more foot traffic, it's building homes so that folks have access to actually patronize and have more foot traffic in our corridor as they work with our small businesses. And making sure that we also just take a look at how we are just supporting our merchants associations as well too. So making sure that our merchants associations are strong, folks have access to those associations so that they become members, so that we strengthen everything. And what I really want to share is that we actually have 9 businesses that are coming to the corridor now, and 6 of them are black owned. So as they are coming to our corridor, we're going to make sure that it's inviting for them, that we have access, that we have those assessments and those tools available for them to utilize, but really taking a look at a public bank that can help us in terms of being able to do that.
Thank you very much. Ms. Pesicao.
Okay. How many people know a business that has closed recently? Show of hands. Yeah? Okay. How many people know a business that closes way too early? Yeah? Okay. So here's how we're going to help these businesses stay in businesses and provide economic opportunity. One, we're going to examine the taxes, the permits, and any red tape. So anyone, email me at jpesico at these government agencies, so people just have to go through one agency to get everything approved. We're going to put a lot of this stuff online so that these permits and everything can happen fast, because we know that if people are delayed in getting any services, they are going to not be able to stay in business. One of the other issues is the SBA, the Small Businesses Administration. Have any opportunities for people to get actual funding? Well, a lot of what it is to do is make sure that people have the capital. We're also going to make these resources more accessible. I'm going to work with each one of these candidates and any of you who has an employment business. There's others out there like House Hospitality. I've also wanted to let you know that I worked on the Career Transition Conference, where we've helped out people get jobs in not only the trades, AI, but in other fields. I've also have connections to Jobs Now, and we're trying to make it so that people can afford their apartment with this program. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pesicao. Mr. Epler.
Thank you. A lot of great ideas up here, and it's going to be an all-of-the-above approach in order to help stabilize the 3rd Street corridor. But I want to focus on a couple of things that haven't been said. One is that we have to make the corridor more accessible. A couple of different ways of doing that. We know that parking is difficult. There are parking lots along the corridor, adjacent to the corridor, that are not being utilized. The city needs to go in, lease those spaces, turn them into places where people can park and access the corridor more easily. We also talked a little bit about transit as it applies to the corridor, taking those places where our lines come together, making them safe, activating them, making them a public asset to draw people to the corridor via public transit, absolutely necessary. If you get in your car, and this is something that happens to me in my neighborhood, you get in your car, you're not going to your neighborhood place, you're driving out of there. If that's your first instinct, then you're not going to be on the corridor. Secondly, we should look at perhaps establishing a community benefit district for the 3rd Street corridor. That does two things. One, it supplies supplemental funding for the things that the corridor needs in order to thrive. Street cleaning, maintenance of community platforms. But two, and I think even more important, is that it forces the city to establish a threshold of services. It holds them accountable for the basics in a way they're currently not being held accountable. And then the third thing is merchants are currently talking right now about how they brand a corridor, how they draw people into the district. The supervisor's office has to play a role in helping coordinate those conversations and then making sure that funding's available in order to actually affect the plan that comes out of it. And that's something my office will do.
Thank you very much. Last but not least, Mr. Lynn.
I'm not sure if we're at the halfway point. Feel free to get up and stretch during this 2 minutes.
If we can just ask you to answer your question, please.
Let me recognize Malik Washington here for his t-shirt. Whole lot of Frisco shit going on. So
Excuse me, hold on one second. Okay. I indicated from the very beginning, respect is the mantra of today.
Respect.
Respect, please. Thank you.
Mayor Lurie has recently said that arts are going to be vital to the revitalization of San Francisco. I was in Portland. I saw that the Pearl District actually had artists coming in that helped redevelop that area. I think the 3rd Street corridor has an opportunity to become an arts district, especially since we have the San Francisco Shipyard Artist Studios. I talked to a driver that drove for the Bayview Shuttle who really wants to see the murals revitalized on the Joe Lee Gymnasium. Also talking to Barbara from Grotto Wines, there's not a whole lot of traffic happening in the evenings, so I think there needs to be nightlife. We have a lot of artists. Let's put up some murals. Let's support the arts.
Thank you very much. Just a reminder to thank you guys for, we are at the halfway point of tonight's forum. Just a reminder to each of you from a respect standpoint, as well as to each and every one of our candidates, please recognize where you are and the people in which you're here. They've come out to hear you and your ideas. That's what they've come for. That's it. That's all. And that's all we're asking for you to be able to share. That's why it's a forum and not a debate. Amen. Thank you. This next question will be centered around the environment. Bayview Hunters Point carries the heaviest pollution burden of any neighborhood in San Francisco. From Superfund contamination, diesel truck traffic, and industrial sites. What is your environmental justice agenda for D10, and how will you hold polluters and city agencies accountable? And for this question, we will start with Ms. Pesicow.
All right, so here's what I've been doing. Here's what the plan could be. Let me know what you think about this. All right, so I have been working and listening to some of our members talk about the Hunters Point shipyard. And based on this conversation that we had last week, here's what some of the people are recommending that we do, and I also agree with this, and I want to make us have this happen. One, there's a lawsuit against the Navy because they are polluting the area. Number two, they want a survey, a health survey, given to everybody in this area, Hunters Point, Bayview area, as well as Treasure Island, because we want to see the health effects. As a nurse, I'm one of the only candidates who can actually develop that survey and make sure that our proper entities are actually giving this out. And I know about AI, so I can collect the information. The other thing that we want to do, too, is make sure that the air is being monitored. According to some associations that I've spoken to, there is a gag order against one or more of these air monitors. They can't properly assess the quality of the air, and they don't know what toxins are exactly in it. That's what I want to do, is help figure that out. Not only that, but we are going to see if we can clean up the area. My friends and I, we have robots. We'll see what we can do. And we also have cleanup, and we're also partnering with the Department of Public Works to see what else we can do in terms of not only getting funding to clean the area up, if possible, we'll determine that, but what other resources we can provide for the people there, because we know there's a lot of health effects, and we want to mitigate that and keep people safe. What do you guys think about that? All right, let's talk
Thank
about
you.
that. All right, we'll talk about it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Epler.
Thank you. Accountability only comes from transparency. And transparency is going to have to be in the form of us getting the results of dust monitoring in real time. It's technology that exists. If there's a construction site in the district, it'll have its dust monitors, and we should be able to not have to go out onto our patios and see if there's a film of dust out there in order to know whether the people on the job site are doing their jobs in terms of dust mitigation. When it comes to truck routes, look, I grew up next to a freeway, 19 years of my life in Oklahoma City. I'm used to that sort of pollution, not just the fumes and everything, but the trash that comes away from our sites. We need to have our truck routes re-examined. We need to hold people accountable using police enforcement to make sure trucks go on the routes that they're supposed to go to and not come through our neighborhoods. We need to hold Caltrans accountable for the conditions of their freeways. They need to be planted. We need beautification on the freeways, and we need the trash picked up so that it does not become an issue throughout the rest of the district. And then last, we have a lot of work to do. Development is going to be the thing that helps us move towards cleaning up these lands. Let's use that as an economic engine that helps benefit Bayview. Let's make sure that there's local hire for remediation through that process, and that we can use this problem that we currently face as an asset to create more good jobs in the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Epler. Mr. Lane.
I'll keep my comments brief. Both Theo and I are actually involved with the Pennington lawsuit against Tetra Tech. With regards to the environment, I think we need to kind of reduce the environmental review so that we can get housing built more quickly.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Bastiani.
Testing. All right, everybody. Extensive environmental plan. My first job in San Francisco was for Fund for the Public Interest in Environment California as a petitioner to ban fracking in California. So that was 18 years old, used to commute up here. All right, 100% solar roofing for the residential and commercial so we can have clean power that can power all of District 10. I want to have some incentives for micro wind turbines to install in residential. Everything I say right now, go it on YouTube. It's being done. I want more solar-powered street lights, more solar-powered string lights for all of our corridors throughout the district. I want to have new legislation for Hunters Point Shipyard to designate it as a maritime prosperity zone with a special use designation to allow for community fodder remediation cleanup, to reestablish the infrastructure for commercial maritime shipping, where we can generate hundreds of millions of dollars annually from these ships out here. I want to be able to reopen Candlestick Point State Recreation Area. We have a state park here, and it's over by the fire department on, I think it was like Shafter, and it's closed, so we get that reopened. I'm pushing for closed loop recycling. Glass recycling uses hydrogen, it creates steam. You can use that steam turbine to power a bottling plant, so you have clean closed loop glass, have plastics being collected that can be broken down into new construction materials, new plastics that can be exportable. That's more money for the district. And lastly, I want to be able to cancel the current Leonard 5 Points plan for Hunters Point Naval Shipyard. They're not going to be able to get that housing built on the land that's still toxic. You're going to be waiting until I'm probably somebody in the gray hair in the back. I'm sorry, I'm going to be like your age before that housing is going to get built. So we have to create the legislation first in order to get the Navy to do what they currently need to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Richards.
This is one of my weak points, and I'm not afraid to admit that. But I know that one thing I will do is get with the community and figure out a plan on how to fix the pollution in District 10, how to fix how these trucks are rolling in here and how we're doing illegal dumping, how we're doing things. It has to be the old business that we go back to on fixing how District 10 was once brought up through the Charlie Walkers, the Al Normans, when they fought to make sure that this community got what it deserved in environmental issues. So I don't know a lot about this, and I will rely on the community to help me with this. So I'm not going to sit up here and fake the funk and try to lie to you and tell you this and tell you that, something that I don't know. I will depend on you guys to help me with that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ellington.
Yeah, we're living in a toxic soup here. Food desert, highest concentration of trucking routes, toxic land on our waterfront. And we have to hold folks accountable for that. And that's exactly what we did. We held Tetra Tech and Lennar accountable for the atrocities happening at the Hunters Point Shipyard. And we won a settlement. And what that settlement showed is that you will no longer come in this community and have your way with the people who have worked so hard to get us thus far. And so in a supervisor, you will have in me someone that will hold every single developer accountable, every single company who moves into this neighborhood accountable to the people who live, work, and love this neighborhood. I think the first thing that we need to do is declare a local state of emergency. If you look at every single social ill that is recorded under the city and county of San Francisco, our neighborhood is most affected. Look at our air quality. Look at our health and maternal health rates. Look at the asthma rates. Look at obesity rates. So we have to do something drastically different. And making sure money is available to aid this crisis is going to be critical. The last thing I'll say is something, again, low-hanging fruit, the illegal dumping problem in our neighborhood. The illegal dumping problem in our neighborhood should be a public health crisis. I want to make sure we are doing everything we can to using technology, to increasing enforcement, to be able to clean the streets in this neighborhood. If you look at the rest of San Francisco compared to Bayview Hunters Point, it is a mess. And as supervisor, I will be sure to clean it up.
Thank you very much. Mr. Brookton.
So what I want to share is we have already locked arms with community. We stood at the steps of City Hall with over 20 organizations that said the time is now. We know what the challenges are. This community has been surveyed inside, under, left, and right. And so now we want to say, is the time. There's already 6 points that community has put together that all you need to do as supervisors, make sure that we can push that forward. What you guys will get in me is somebody who has done the work, has been a part of developing and putting the strategies together. Now it is time to implement. And it's simple. It's independent oversight. It's transparency. It's accountability. It's making sure that the Department of Public Health is here, spending time so we can have those conversations, but it's also the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission. I literally just had a conversation with a neighbor of mine, and I live over at Candlestick Point, and it is impacting and affecting our water. My neighbor told me that she has to move to Santa Rosa because her and her daughter are continuously getting sick. And the fact that they cannot receive assistance and help in our community, to me, is an audacity. So we need to make sure that we hold folks accountable, that we have that transparency, and that we're also bringing these folks and holding them to the fire, the Navy, the SFPUC, the Department of Public Health. We need to make sure that we have long-term health monitoring here in our communities to make sure that we stop getting sick and to make sure that our babies will not become sick when I'm your next supervisor.
Thank you very much. This next question is around public safety. Public safety. Gun violence continues to claim the lives of young people in D10. What is your strategy to reduce violence, and how do you balance investment in law enforcement with community-based prevention and intervention programs that will have proven results? And for this question, we'll start with Mr. Lin.
So in the fall of 2024, I actually attended the 8-week San Francisco Police Department Community Policing Academy. I learned quite a bit about the operations of the SFPD and how we are understaffed. We're about 600 officers short of being fully funded. I'm a big fan of cameras, license plate readers. I know a lot of people do not like them. I appreciate them. I know it's been a force multiplier. Being Asian, I will be the moderate. I will advocate for public safety. I'm going to advocate for more cameras, which probably is not going to be popular.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The next question is Mr. Bastiani, the same question in and around police and law, public safety. Let me read it again for you. Gun violence continues to claim the lives of young people in D10. What is your strategy to reduce violence, and how do you balance investment in law enforcement with community-based prevention and intervention programs that have proven results?
Thank you for repeating the question. First and foremost, I'd like it to be known I'm a Moms Demand Action Gun Sense candidate. I was in the Everytown for Gun Safety fall 2025 cohort for Demand a Seat. Also been in the Black Students Demand Action for Gun Violence affinity group as long as I've been in both of those processes. I want to give a rest in power to my fraternity brother, Jabril Abubakar, who was gunned down in Antioch my senior year in college. He had just graduated from UC Riverside. He did everything right, came back home, and was at the wrong place at the wrong time. So I after also seeing the death of Sonia Macy, created my company's Martial Artists for Hire. I created the Martial Arts Community Protection Initiative, which is a workforce development plan to hire black belts, martial artists, veterans, Polynesians, folks in the Asian community that are respectful and highest trained for private security, for law enforcement. I want to ban for the first 5 years cadets all the way up to 5-year officers. If you don't have your black belt or a Gracie Survival Tactics certificate, you got to keep your gun in the car if you're going to be coming out here in community. If Mario Woods had officers facing him that were Gracie Survival Tactics certified, he would still be alive today. If the officer that killed Oscar Grant and George Floyd were trained in Gracie Survival Tactics, they would be alive today. Look up the safe wrap technique, been utilized for 20 years. Safe wrap saves lives. And lastly, I think it's deplorable that Mayor Lurie's bodyguards think it's okay to push around on black homeless people or any homeless people, and they, for one, absolutely deserve what they got, because you should not be pushing people around like that. He used a jiu-jitsu leg sweep, by the way, and so I highly recommend the post-pandemic revitalization of our dojos with K-12 SFUSD free martial arts for students and families. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Richards.
Well, this is my specialty. Brothers Against Guns. We have a success rate, a 90% success rate of our kids changing their lives around. One of the things I'm going to do is bring back the Police Accountability Board. We're going to hold them accountable. We're going to talk to them. We're going to let the police know that this is what we have to do in our community. We got to have community policing. We got to make sure we work with our young men and let them know that accountability on their end and on the police end. But at the end of the day, we have to show them a better way. Now, my success rate on working with the youth and gun violence, we have changed the lives of over 500 to 600 people, young men and young women, that was engaged in street crime. Now they all changed their lives. They're all working. So I know firsthand how that works. I know firsthand what to do. I've been very active and proactive, you know what I'm saying, on making sure that we reduce the gun violence. Brothers Against Guns held the first buyback gun campaign at Mount Zion Hospital with Marty Smith back in 1995. And we collected over 600 guns. And we supported United Players in their gun back campaign. So reducing gun violence, making sure that young folks have a safe and livable, sustainable life, we have to all get involved. It ain't just organizations. Now, the other thing, we have to invest back into youth organizations and making sure that they are part of the talking points along with the community. So being part of stopping the violence has been one of my #1 key points. My slogan is, buying a gun on the streets is cheap. A human life is priceless. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Sean, I do want to give you credit where credit is due with your violence prevention work. I don't know if you remember this, but you hired me as a referee for Midnight Basketball. And so want to give you your flowers. Let me just say that public safety means different things in different parts of District 10. In Bayview, yes, violence prevention. In Potrero and Dogpatch, we got to look at our urban design and certain traffic calming measures that make it safe for people to walk the streets. In Viz Valley, that means lighting at our bus stations and ambassadors for language access. I want to talk about something my campaign is currently working on that will roll out in the next couple weeks. A high school to career jobs pipeline. The best way to stop violence is to give a person a good education and to guarantee them a job. And so we look at the industries that are moving south in this neighborhood: healthcare, technology, construction. We should be placing our high school students into each of those industries en masse. When I went to high school, I went to School of the Arts High School. From 7 in the morning to 12 noon, I did my education. And then from 1 to 3, I did my art. We should allow for folks who are in high school to get direct access into our unions. We have tremendous trades here in this neighborhood. We've got facilities here that already exist in this neighborhood. We have City College and entire training campus off of Evans. We have the Plumbers Union has a state-of-the-art facility here in this neighborhood. We have UCSF right down the street. We have the AI capital of the world in Dogpatch. We have no excuse to why we have the unemployment rates that we do in this neighborhood. And so we have to do better, and we have to do it at scale.
Thank you. Mr. Brookter.
This table's not good for folks with long legs. Yeah, and Sean, we've done a lot of work, man, the work you've done at Brothers Against Guns, so I just want to make sure I absolutely applaud you for the work that you've done and the work that we've done together. What a lot of folks may not know is that actually here in our district, we have a District 10 safety plan. There is a plan that already exists on how to activate preemptively when something takes place in our community that has a plethora of community-based organizations that activate to make sure that not only the family, but our young folks receive services. And as we heard, I'm going to continue to talk about workforce development, making sure that our young folks have access to employment opportunities that are long-lasting is a top of mind as we think about prevention. There's programs like the City EMT. They just had 30 graduates graduate that are now going into the Fire Academy. There's conversations I'm already having as we also have a large number of seniors here in our district where we're looking at young men and young women in our community becoming caregivers so that we can actually give back to our members of community that have been providing for us for so long. And also expanding and bringing back our ambassador program. It's about more than just access to language. Being able to make sure that folks in community, we've done this before, these should be city employment opportunities where folks are in our community, walking up and down 3rd Street, having conversations with our small businesses, making sure they feel safe, spending time on the T-train with us to make sure that folks know how to go to and fro. Now, this district is very vast, and there are conversations in each area that are going to be a little bit different, but when we talk about prevention, it's access to workforce, it's our District 10 safety plan that we already have in place, and it's about implementation. It's about making sure that we provide the resources so that it's robust enough for us to be able to continue to activate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Pascal.
All right. So when we talk about safety, we talk about gun violence. One of the root cause analysis, right, is mental health, right, staffing, how we implement our SF District 10 safety plan to activate the community. We also look at other factors such as whether police officers are working excessively, because that we know if they're working excessively and they don't have not only the education or the resources to deal with some of their problems, they're more likely to hurt other people or have other types of adverse effects. This is why I went to the police commission hearing. One of our folks was there, and I was the only candidate to do that, to advocate not only if the police can examine and modify how they investigate crimes, how they interact with our residents, how they also have education, and whether they could get more support and how they could be more supported so that they're not harming our residents. The other thing I try to do as well is work with other legislators. I spoke to them about redoing some of the OMB forms. For those that don't know, these are how to obtain a gun, and providing some of the mental health services, because we know that when residents are given the proper care, they're less likely to have a mental health incident that results in harm and other types of things. Lastly, one of the issues that we found was that there were EMTs that were not called when somebody was having a mental health crisis, there was the police. So what I did was I advocated if we could get more EMTs to the area instead of the police. That way we could lower our budget, and I also advocated for SF pretrial and more services.
Thank you very much. Mr. Eckler.
This is an area where we just have to do what we know that works. And Mr. Richards, thank you so much for your work on this project that you do. I mean, we need to make sure that the district in office continues to fight for dollars out of the budget that go to our youth violence prevention services. It does such a good job. When it comes to the balance between that and policing, we need, if we're going to have more officers, and that's an if, we talked about how technology is changing policing. If we're going to have more officers, they need to be embedded in the community. They need to know the people that they're policing. They need to be able to be comfortable to deliver proportionate response to issues and not escalate things in tragic ways. We need to have responses that are non-armed, community ambassadors, mental health providers, people that can actually solve problems and not create problems when they go out when something is going on. And we've talked about youth program, we've talked about youth jobs, but I'll point out one thing that hasn't been mentioned yet. We have a deficit in this district when it comes to youth programming provided by the city. I'm talking in particular Rec Park. We don't have the same level of youth services that other parts of the city have. It's a low barrier to entry. We have the sites and facilities. They should provide more programming for our youths. We shouldn't feel compelled to have to take our kids across town in order to access that programming. It should be here so that we can take advantage of it easily. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This last question in this set is around education and youth, and you've all just kind of touched on it a little bit. So this question will give you an opportunity to go a little bit deeper into it. SFSUSD school closures have hit D10 neighborhoods the hardest, and young people in our district face violence, lack of opportunity, and limited safe spaces. What investments will you champion in schools, youth employment, and after-school programs to keep young people connected and safe? And for this one, all of you have called on him. I'll call on him too. Mr. Richards, you begin.
Again, this is one of my specialties. Brothers Against Guns was inside the school district at 21st Century Academy, which is now Willie Brown. All the kids that went back in 1995 are now grown with kids and doing well. But we started an after-school program, and we trained them on how to behave, how to act, how to deal with the community, how to deal with the police. Also, we showed them how to be entrepreneurs. One of the things is this. We have to have more technology into the schools. Now, why is our kids always in District 10, Trail Hill, Visitation Valley, and Baby Hunters Point, the last to get to the technology? Why are our kids the last to know the different languages, how to learn how to speak those different languages? Because we're not forcing the San Francisco Unified School District to put in more effort and more resources into this community. We have to make sure that we talk to them and we let them know. I go to the school board school board meetings all the time, and I'm yelling at them and I'm fighting with them, and I'm letting them know we have to do a better job. We have to also monitor the teachers that's coming up in our community that's teaching our kids, because some of them care, some of them don't, and that's okay. But as parents, as community residents, we have to step up and show that we do care. One of the programs that I started in 21st Century Academy was understanding yourself. As you get older, you will know. And as my kids, which is my daughters, and I have 5 daughters that went to public school here, and they all grown on their own, but one thing I can tell you, they know themselves. They carry themselves as young women. And I teach the young men the same thing. So I want to make sure that the community and the residents are built in to how the school district treat our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr.
Can
Allen?
you repeat the question, please?
Sure, absolutely. SFSUSD school closures have hit D10 neighborhoods the hardest, and young people in our district face violence, lack of opportunity, and limited safe spaces. What investments will you champion in schools, youth employment, and after-school programs to keep young people connected and safe?
Just want to make sure I understood that. Thank you for that. I'm going to double back down on my high school to career pipelines program. If you look at the construction industry, I alluded to the 20,000 new units of waterfront development projects happening. If you look at the number of small businesses that will benefit from that, there is a direct correlation between those small businesses and our employment. If we get black contractors on the job, guess who they're going to hire? Thank you, black people. Worrying me for a minute. If you look at what's happening in Dogpatch, they have cohorts of entrepreneurs who are moving through organizations like Y Combinator 2 to 3 times a year, getting $500,000 to $1 million each to start businesses. I want to see that same investment in District 10. I want to see that same investments in the young people who live in this neighborhood. If you look at our healthcare system, we have the UCSF right down the street, expanding at Pier 70, moving into Dogpatch. We talk about revitalizing our corridor. We talk about fixing the health inequities. I want to see a UCSF facility in this very neighborhood. I've got a perfect location too, 3rd and Williams at the former Walgreens site, and not an auto zone. And so these are the things we need to start thinking about as a community. We have to dictate what we build here. We have to stand up and build the neighborhood we deserve. Nobody from City Hall is going to come down and save us. We got to strap our boots up. We've got to organize like this. We've got to make sure the black churches are involved. If we want to build the neighborhood we deserve, we have to do it ourselves.
Thank you, sir.
Dexter, I want to thank you for that question. And one of the things that we haven't heard that I want to make sure we focus on is diving deeper. I think the statistics will show us that in 3rd grade, you can tell about the school to prison pipeline. Making sure that we're investing younger in grammar school and making sure that more folks that look like them that are lawyers, more folks that are doctors coming into our schools, spending time with our young folks so they can see themselves in us is one of the things that we can absolutely and fundamentally do that's very, very simple. But we have already been designing programs. There's a program called the Sewer System Improvement Program. For folks who don't know, the Public Utilities Commission is doing a 30-year project improving our sewer system. And we have actually held those engineering firms accountable to say you need to provide community benefits to young folks that are right here in 94124 to make sure that they have access to internship opportunities. And once they go away for college, they come back and have an opportunity to work here in the city and county of San Francisco. We need to make sure that we're investing in programs like YouthWorks. There's programs that already exist that have been receiving less funding due to the current administration. So when we get into office together, we're going to hold those folks accountable to say, majority of the folks that I've had conversations with have come through some form of MYEP, which is the Mayor's Youth Employment Education Program, that we need to make sure that we continue to exist. And I'll leave you guys with this one story, because I just was at a meeting on Escalades Creek, and I ran into 2 parents. It was the Davises. Both of their daughters had gone through our SSIP, or Sewer System Improvement Program. One of the 2 is an engineer right now, working for a firm right here in San Francisco, and she looks like us. We will continue to design and do more of that when we get into office together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Pascal.
All right. So one of the big issues that impedes our safety in schools and our ability not only for kids to remain safe, but get economic opportunity is money. One of the things that I did, and none of these other candidates did, was I went on TV. I advocated for more funding, not only for our public schools, our programs, and other art and workforce development. Not only that, but you will see me tomorrow at 2 p.m. in the Board of Supervisors. I will also advocate for more funding for this. Not only that, but we know that some of our programs right now, as DJ stated, you know, are not only not having the funding, but there's not enough resources. And we also want to make sure that the opportunities are there. Anyone who's interested, please come talk to me. If you have a program that is on the list that is supposed to be receiving funding that is not getting it. Sometimes we know that these portals, and there's a lot of delays in government, a lot of bureaucracies to receiving grants, but also getting the monies on time. Because they know if there's a delay in money, if there's hard paperwork to fill out, people can't get the funding for these. The other thing that I want to do too is anyone who's watching this, if you're on Facebook or X or YouTube, anyone with the means, please create or fund a grant to help our schools. If you can, donate to a program if that's allowed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Epple.
Thank you. This is a question that hits close to home. I'm the father of an 11-year-old. He's been an SFUSD student. He was a COVID kindergartner. He's moving into middle school this next year at Willie Brown. And I don't think that our school decision should be akin to walking into the convenience store and buying a lottery ticket. We have too many options that cause uncertainty when it comes to the school district. Where you go to school because you have to go through the draw system. Let's fund neighborhood schools and give certainty to people about where they can go to school. Now, we're not the school board, we can't do that directly, but the city and county provides a significant amount of funding to the school district, and we need to start using that funding power to bring the school district into the 21st century, where they can provide well-funded schools where the children are. The children are in District 10. It's not fair for us to think that we need to drive across town in order to get our kids into what they call a good school. We should have those good schools close to home. I've been lucky to be able to do that in part. Mike Lynn helped stabilize one of the schools on Potrero Hill. That shouldn't just be a northern part of the district thing. It shouldn't just be a Mission Bay thing. It should be something that we have throughout the district so that when they go to look at schools that they want to cut, they don't see schools in the southern part of the district that are 50% full, but they see vibrant, thriving communities in those schools. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Lane.
So I recently read an article in the SF Standard about how a principal got fired within the Bayview SFUSD because the PTA didn't have the proper system set up and she was funding things from her Venmo, which is outrageous. I would hope that our supervisor would have spoken up. Having been a PTA president at Jose Ortega Elementary School, you have to have parents that have the time to get involved with the schools. We have families whose parents, are working class that do not have the time to spend on their PTA. So we should get more support for the PTA. We should not be firing principals that are, having children getting tickets to win prizes and, the scores are elevated, The other thing is, private-public partnership. I don't know if you know this, but Salesforce actually provides laptops to San Francisco. They also provide volunteers. We have San Francisco Education Fund. In Dogpatch, we have Y Combinator. We have lots of techies. Let's try to get people involved. I'm actually qualified to volunteer for the Potrero Hill Neighborhood House. I went through the process. They have STEM Saturdays. There's a wide disparity of wealth between parts of D10. Potrero Hill Dogpatch is upper middle class, whereas the southern part is, middle class families. So I think public, private, bringing in techies, bringing in reading tutors.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bastian.
Testing. So as the youngest person here on the dais, I don't have any kids, but I'm a proud 90s baby, so I'm still a young person. I am pushing for a 1% tech tax on tech companies earning over $1 million in revenue that operate or are based here in San Francisco, and that money will go directly to SFUSD to pay for all of that. I think especially NVIDIA, 1% should pay off the whole deficit. Anyway, we need to be able to teach tech skills to our kids, including helping them become software engineers, teaching them about AI and machine learning, so that way when they go out into the workforce, whether or not they go to college, they're actually going to be qualified for those roles that pay, upwards of 6 figures, right? I want to see all year-round opportunities for all, where we will continue to keep our youth employed. I want to see community chefs in all of our schools that are cooking 3 meals in the school for our youth, clean and healthy meals. I used to be on the lunch program and had to get the discounted lunch. I want to identify grants and private donors, including reaching out to our Divine Nine, MPHC, the Faith-Based Coalition, our Black-owned businesses to help us fund to reopen and keep open our schools, replacing PE option for a trip to a dojo, and free after-school martial arts for young people.